sure I've got some questions. Peter?
If you were going to go onto that site and then give feedback to that BP oil spill, would BP actually get it?
It's, yes. It would be a central location. Right now there are discussions happening on some forums in a lot of detail, but you as a user, you don't know where that is. And the company may not have attention to that. So it's not so much centralizing the discussion from you to the company, it's gathering the feedback, being it in a form. I guess another way to say it, if the company is not going to collect feedback, someone else will. And so sooner or later the company's going to see that.
Okay.
Yeah. Robin?
So is this something that you would only use for sort of problem solving, or would you also use it for information gathering?
Google's great for searching to find internet sites. The way I picture the internet is it's a collection of services, right? But they're very disjoint. Like if I want to do video, sure, I go to YouTube. If I want to do a survey, I might do SurveyMonkey. So if you want to search for information, Google's fine. If you want to look for solutions and problems and really be involved, so it takes kind of a higher proactiveness to get involved than you use this tool.
So is the point of it to have your own profile so you can see how you can connect to these problems, or?
You can create your own profile, you can create your own movement, that pod definition. You don't have to release, for instance, your name, you can just be an ID number. It's up to you. Meet?
I just have two questions. The first one is, so would this kind of be classified as a more complex blog mixed in with like a wiki? So like easy user sharing, that type of thing?
It's more, it would break down, well, what's a blog and what's a wiki? What's the purpose of it?
Right.
So a wiki's great, it's your dictionary. A blog is great for one person to get ideas out to a lot of people. But this is kind of at the higher level where it combines those as services. And it says, if I want to tell people more about Laurier, I'm going to start a wiki page. And then if they really want to find out my opinions, they'll go to my blog. So it's more points people in the right direction.
Okay, and the next question is like just, this is more of like your opinion, but I don't know about other people, but when I was viewing the way they set up the website, it doesn't seem so user-friendly. Like, do you think that there's a way that they could have possibly made that a little more like the pod idea, albeit it's inventive? It's just, it's
right.
Very, I don't know, for me at least, like looking at it, just seemed like a lot going on
right.
for a new user, I guess.
And that's where there's hundreds of ways to visualize things. Once you get the idea of a pod and what it represents, and once you understand that, then you can organize it in a hierarchy or a timeline or very simple. And the big concept behind what they're doing is layers of complexity, right? Don't show someone too much too soon.
Because the website has a about section that teaches you that.
Right, how to navigate through it. And you do have to take a tutorial. It's not just search and there's your answer, right?
So all those pods were different sizes. So is that just, what does that mean? Like, is that just more information is discussed per topic?
It has to do with the more links, in and out links it has, the more you're right, connections to other people. If you visualizing in Facebook, the more friends you have, it would be the bigger pod you are.
So then taking that further, when you click on a pod, does it show you a list of websites and where the information's from, or is it, what's the next step after the pod?
Right, so again, it's narrowing down, you have your bigger pods at the top. If you click on one in the middle, it's structured so that one in the middle is now at the top.
Okay.
Right, so if we have Wilfrid Laurier, I see you as a student, us as the MBA class, I click on that, I can see all the students in it. That's a social network, which they try to steer clear of, but that's how it works. Yes?
Is the content on the website, like, is it found through a computer program, or is it edited by human beings, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. I guess when we talk about creating a pod, that needs a champion. It needs either someone or an association behind it. Yeah. And before we start my feedback, if there's any more questions. I know it's a lot to fit in the 8 minutes, but I can share the link with you there because there are some more details. Thank you.
Shall we start with some feedback? Michael?
Yes, Michael. Feedback.
I really liked how you were coming out from behind the desk, like you had that space, especially since your slides you didn't need to actually stand behind the desk right away. But on the other side of that, because you didn't have to actually go to the slides, I found that maybe if you came around the desk, like with your kind of using up the room, it would have been maybe more useful for the room before, and then when you're actually doing your demonstration, then at that point you could understand the rest.
I know I do two things when I'm in a presentation. I will try to move and sway a lot. I try to plant myself. Another thing, I look up in the back corner. I don't know why, but I do.
I thought you were very engaging, very well spoken. It was complicated at times, but you did a pretty good job considering the complexity of the site and the fact that it's kind of hard to fit that into the 8-minute gap. So it was well.
Michael.
Okay, just about 4 minutes into the presentation, I still had no idea what you were talking about. I didn't know what the program was, and I was just kind of lost. It was kind of, I don't know, maybe like an introduction of, kind of maybe a preface about what's going to go on. Would have helped maybe explain yourself a bit better. So it was just kind of, that period of being lost was just kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, I'm talking about this example, but how is it really related to where I'm going? So maybe saying at the start.
I thought it came across that you really knew your stuff, and when you weren't looking up in that corner, which I didn't notice, but you probably didn't notice this, you had good eye contact. Like a couple of times I noticed you were looking right at me and felt like you were talking right to me. But because you knew your stuff really well, I felt like your PowerPoint slides had a few too many words on it sometimes, and I started concentrating on that and reading it, and then I couldn't concentrate on what you were saying, which I would have rather concentrate on what you were saying because it felt like there was more information with you, which would have allowed me to follow along a lot better.
I think too, like when you have something this complex or with this much information, if you like focus on like the top key takeaway, like for us, like what would we use it for, like I'm gonna focus on the pods, or I think it lends a little bit to the information part. Is it almost felt like we were getting too much information. Like you could have either taken like a basic approach tutorial or like a middle of the road, you know what I mean? So I just think even if on the website too, it's like either like a really basic, this is what it is and this is how to use it, or just a little bit more drill down. But I see kind of in the middle. So.
Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, I was saying, John, I like how you brought up the current events and then brought up like what we talked about last week, about like, for example, when I was using the tool. So you brought that into your presentation so we know it's current and it's useful, right? And so that helps us to get a better understanding what the tools is capable of. So I thank you for that.
I just want to add to that, Jonathan, thank you for taking on what might have seemed a mammoth task. I would agree with some of the feedback that about 3 or 4 minutes into the presentation, I was still sitting here going, but that could be just me, not anything. So some more clarity around that. I liked the engagement, that talking to people about, how you started. I thought that was very interesting. Again, perhaps using the BP example and the oil spill example and carrying it through. Tall order in 10 minutes. I realize that's very complicated, but